Hello and welcome back to Ultima 7, the Black Gate and Forge of Virtue. So, we are in the Lycaeum, and we're going through and reading and talking to people, and I think we are done on the first floor now, I believe. Let's see what's upstairs. More books. Who would have thought? Oh, jeez. Okay. Alright, well, let's start in here, I guess. 101 Ways to Cheat at Nim by Dr. Cott. Within the pages of this tome are all the many ways to earn supplementary gold by gambling at Nim. Written by the originator of the game himself, this book covers in depth such strategies as claw first, question later, and there are no ways to skin a cat. To Be or Not to Be by Wislam. A Wislam is one of the gargoyles that we've met. I can't remember which one he is. I think he's in Vesper. To be the words comprising the complete Gargish primer designed to educate the young gargoyle mind, both winged and wingless. Water on the Cat by Mousy. This text is a humorous diatribe and should be taken as nothing more than such. Any of the following activities should only be performed when water is abundant enough to be in surplus. Droughts are serious business, and this work is in no way designed to indicate otherwise. The editor. The using of a bucket to draw water from a well takes nothing more than common sense. However, upon what to use the water is often a more difficult question to answer. Cats are, of course, my personal favorite objects of such torture, but thy friends will usually do quite nicely, providing they have no form of retaliation and are not quick to anger. Children are a little less choice, though considerably more deserving, for their parents do often anger quickly when their offspring is threatened. And I guess it's sort of accurate. I'm pretty sure you can draw water from a well and then fling it at people and or cats. We'll give it a try next time we find a well. I'd like to do that to Frank. Knightsbridge in a Nutshell by Nicodemus. I don't think we read this. This is a board game for 2 players. Each player begins with 3 pieces. The object is to move thy 3 pieces in concert in order to force the treasure from the center of the board to thine own side. All the while thine opponent shall be attempting to do the same. Each turn consists of a player either moving or pushing a piece followed by a similar action by the opposing player. A legal move consists of placing one's piece in any adjacent unoccupied black or white square. A legal push is performed when a player forces a piece, either an opponent's or the treasure, one space directly away from his piece. The exception to the latter rule, making a push illegal, occurs when a player wishes to push a piece into the space from which it just left in the preceding turn. If any piece, excluding the treasure, is pushed onto the blue square or off the board, that piece is considered lost and is removed from play. The treasure may not be pushed off the board. To win the game, a player must push the treasure to the back row of the squares on his side of the board. I don't actually know if you can play the game, like you certainly can in Ultima 7, but if the rules actually make sense, and if we were to set it up and execute them as it was just written, if you could actually do it. Yeah, interesting thought. And that's it. Okay, so that's it for the drawer. Now let's start at the bottom, go clockwise. Miscellaneous Cantrips by Anonymous. As the title says, this book describes the minor spells that fall into the bailiwick of charlatans and prestidigitators. Great word, prestidigitators. No One Leaves by R. Allen G., the sequel to The Day It Didn't Work. This short tome offers insight to why new mechanical contraptions don't always function at the time agreed upon between mechanician and overseer. Yeah, we did read this. Ritual Magic by Nicodemus. The ability to combine one's power with that of another mage's is fundamental to the casting of enchantments. While standing in an outer triangle of a pentagram, up to 5 wizards may enhance the effects of their spells. The bloodletting from either a goat, sheep, or cat, 1 per mage, is necessary in addition to the consumption of the secretion of a type 3 acid slug. Once all the materials are gathered, each mage must stand within one of the 5 corners of the pentagram drawn from the dust of a dragon's thigh bone. That's interesting because I think the mages that we stumble across in the Yew Forest are, I mean, I know they're engaged in rituals, but I think they're engaged in those rituals because I remember seeing a cat body and maybe a pentagram. Interesting. I never read that book. I never put that together. Excuse me. The day it didn't work. We have read The Symbology of Runes by Smidgen the Green. Found within is the complete dictionary of terms for understanding. Oh, we've read that. Jesse's Book of Performance Art by Jesse. This anthology is filled with many performance art scripts. The author, a controversial and eccentric Britannian actor, maintains that many aspects of both acting and performance art are quite similar. Whoops. Shoot. I think we might have read this too. Oh, darn, I did it again. I think we might have read this too, but I'm not sure, so we'll finish it off. Consider the actor. He uses dialogue, facial changes, and movement to convey his lines. His actions, called a performance, combined with the playwright's script, express the emotion or a message. The performance artist uses the very same techniques. The one possible exception is that he is both the writer and the performer. In fact, the practice of many facets of performance art can better an actor's skill. We've read that. I don't think we have Pathways of Planar Travel by Nicodemus. Herein are the many complex formulae necessary for travel between and through the many diverse planes of existence. Each plane is accessed by a moon gate, and even our very own... Yeah, no, we did read this. I don't remember where I am. Thou art what they eat, so this. Enchanting items for household use by Nicodemus. I don't think we have. Found upon the pages of this tome are many a recipe for the creation of mundane magic utensils and apparatuses, including such items as a self-propelled broom, the ghost writing quill, and the alarm gem. Toward the unfinished end of the book, the entries become erratic and almost unreadable, as if written down in a hurry. Many of the latter items seem a little demented. The giant obsidian fly swatter, the exploding corncob holder, and the comb of many blades. It would seem that this mage was not conjuring with all of his reagents. Now, is that what's written in the book, or is that my interpretation of what's written in the book? Man vs. Fish, The Ultimate Conflict by Aquasteer? Thou might consider fishing to be an activity designed simply to feed thy familty. Daily thou takest thy fishing pole and trod to the lake in hopes of catching thy dinner. However, say I, fishing is much more. A fisherman is much like a knight, off to conquer the terrible dragon. Certainly the terrain is familiar, just as the knight's homeland is to him, but the contest is where the real comparison lies. While a knight carries with him a great and powerful sword, and fisherman must arm himself with a sturdy pole. Of course, another important weapon for the fisherman is his mind. He will need a keen sense of observation to aid him in his struggle against the slippery opponents. The first thing he must do is search for a body of water where the fish are so common that they are forced to jump above the water simply to have room for the others. A lake or pond filled with fish will provide the wise fisherman a better opportunity for an encounter. And how does a fisherman catch his prey? Not by sitting idly and waiting for them to jump into his pail. For once the creature grabs hold of the bait, and the fisherman must fight and thrash his way as if attacking the very beast itself. Minutes seem to turn to hours as the warrior battles with his fish, until finally, all energy spent from both sides, the fish is dragged unwillingly into the waiting bucket. And then the process must begin anew. Chicken Raising by, I have no idea, Uhidness Gone? Onus Gone? While handling chickens is a relatively easy task, as is collecting eggs, there are several pieces of information that will be of much use to the novice owner. For example, quite a number of hens have soft, delected fluff on their underside, which they developed as chicks, but never outgrew. As a result, the coarse straw of the nest tends to irritate their hide. As a result, many hens will bury their eggs beneath a thin layer of straw. This provides warmth that the egg is missing because the mother will not fully set herself down upon the egg. In addition, most hens do not lay their eggs at the same time as their sister hens. A hen must rest at the minimum 3 full hours before she will be capable of producing another, and do not be concerned if more time is necessary for thy hens to create more of their offspring. Magic and the Art of Horse and Wagon Maintenance. O author. This lengthy tome contains wondrous jewels of wisdom concerning all aspects of life. The words exalt the value of basic common pleasures and denounce the relevance that material possessions have to happiness. The philosophy is simple enough to be easily grasped, yet complete enough to be quite comprehensive. The main irony of the title is apparent to anyone who has ever cared for a horse. For as any stable maker or horse owner can attest, horses need no food or rest. Man versus Fish. Okay, then we're back up here. Modern Necromancy by Horrence the Lich, presumably. The author of this poetic treatise attempts to show how necromancy has been maligned throughout the years and explains the beneficial knowledge that can be garnered by studying the effects of magic on a lifeless corpse, including the more recent art of returning life to a dead companion, known as resurrection. Yes, very useful, resurrection. A Short Treatise on Britannian Society by Clayton. The hierarchy of peoples of Britannia follows a traditional order. Though little here is meant to be law, the entire content was compiled from observations made throughout the land. All citizens of Britannia obviously owe allegiance to the just and noble Lord British. The next in line to receive our respect are the members of the Great Council, which comprises one citizen from each town or city in Britannia. Members of the Great Council are followed by the winged gargoyles, for they are highly educated and well-versed in all matters of life. Many a winged friend has supplied words of wisdom to a traveler venturing through Turfin. Just below the winged gargoyles follow the wondrous masses of humanity, without whom the economic governmental aspects would collapse. These, of course, are followed by the less worldly, but quite strong, wingless gargoyles. Much of the impact upon our economic system has come from... Okay, so we're just ranking races there. That's it. Okay, that's it for up there. Also, you left out the Avatar. I feel like the Avatar should have my own spot. Not that I really want to get into ranking everyone else. On Acting by Laurence Olivier. Within the pages of this tome are the theories and philosophies of acting, as well as personal anecdotes written by a noted thespian of a distant land. Apparently this book was one of the many brought to Britannia by Lord British. Oh, right. We're hungry. Play Directing, Analysis, Communication, and Style by Francis Hodge. Within the pages of this highly respected textbook, one can find the highly touted and sometimes controversial methods of staging a play. Written by an eminent professor emeritus from a university in a distant land, this book is considered by most thespians as the definitive source book on directing. I wonder if Francis Hodge is professor in the real world. Lord British. We've read this, which is good because it's long. Hey, alright. Whew, that was a long room. Okay. Looks like we're probably going to be all reading this episode, judging by that room in the bottom right. Let's see if we can take a break and find anyone with some dialogue. Doesn't look like it. Alright, let's start off on the desk. Hopefully at least some of these can be repeats. Up is Out by Goodfellow, we've read that. The Light Until Dawn by Orenel. Herein is the short book that discusses both... Oh no, we've read this. Now read this. Vargas's Stories of Legend. Reasons why one should never build doors facing north or west. Many centuries ago, the prophet, Father Antos, foretold the coming of a plague of locusts that would arrive from the lands to the north. He predicted that their source area was so important that it would indicate who would survive the attack and who would not. He predicted that anyone living in a house having a door with a northern exposure would perish under the onslaught. 2 days later, the locusts came, and in the aftermath it was discovered that only the houses with doors on the north wall were destroyed. The naturalist Ergen incorporated Algarth's discovery that the sun rises from the east, theorized that the nightly path of many dark-dwelling nasties could be traced. As the sun moves slowly to the west, Ergen contends shadows increase in the east, forcing monsters to move that direction to stay out of the sun. Therefore, as denizens of the dark travel from the west, they are more likely to invade households with doors that directly cross their paths. Interesting. Thy Message Received by Forlem, translated by Jillian. Forlem is, I forget who, but we met him, I think, it's one of the gargoyles that we met in Vesper, I believe. Translated by Jillian downstairs. We've read it, though. Yeah, we've read it. Trend 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 17. This autobiography, penned by the obtuse mage, reveals Tren's life in all his incarnations as he continually strove to possess more powerful beings. Scent of Valor we've read. The Dragon Compendium by Perrin we've read. The Trio by Lee Parton. Compiled from the music of the three master bards, this full volume contains a collection of songs for a variety of stringed and percussion instruments. The Complete History of the Lute by Devonalian, with foreword by the master bard Iolo. I don't know if we read it, but we will here anyways, because it's Iolo. Herein are the words penned by the illustrious master lute player himself. The voluminous work begins with a description of the building process and carefully leads into the music theory. I heartfully and willingly share my title with this young and very talented virtuoso, and recommend that thee follow his words of wisdom well. Iolo, what is it? It's over here. Iolo Arbalest. Follow the Stars by Lornan. Stealing the Wind by Brianna. I'm not sure. Kite building techniques thou hast never seen before, from the simple box kite to the mind-numbing... Yeah, we have read this. So many books. It really is unbelievable. Oh my god. What did I think? What did I expect? Okay, let's start over here. Shoot the Moon by Oswald. Pretty sure we've read it. My Lord Conduct by Elena. Found within is a description of the proper behavior for for courtiers and courted individuals. The book reveals many different techniques for both polite and impolite seduction. Spring planting, autumn harvest. Held within these pages is the explanation of agriculture in detail, including the much misunderstood mulching process. The middle section is an illustrated guide to many gardening implements. Why Good Mages Like Black Magic by Magus. Despite the rather frivolous title, this complete tome explains the value of applying magic for the benefit of society, as opposed to selfish personal gain. The concepts presented herein mesh quite well with those exemplified by the virtues. The Transitive Vampire by Karen Elizabeth Gordon. This richly detailed tome is a handbook of grammar for the innocent, the eager, and the doomed. How the West Was by Euclidia. I think we read this. This tome of history tracks the geography of Britannia from the early centuries to the more recent times. The included maps provide a level of detail never before seen in a work of this nature. In addition, the short chapter on the once important virtues reveals their source from the broader tenets of truth, love, and courage. Okay, 2 rooms down. Sure, we can eat. We can eat, guys. Oh, man, that's a lot. Food break. Everyone will soon be plump. Shamino, you were hungry, really? Does it sound like you, Shamino? Is nobody else hungry? Weird. Alright. Have a quick drink. Let's go. The Silence of Chastity by I. M. Monk. The treatise on the monks of the Brotherhood of the Rose, including how they compare to their stereotypes. One common misconception is that the monks still hold on to the outdated notion that silence is golden. While this was, perhaps, a tenet they supported as late as 0103 no longer... let me try that again. While this was, perhaps, a tenet they supported as late as 0103, no longer do the monks of the renowned Empeth Abbey care to remain speechless. There is no doubt that monks love wine. Not only are there more monk stories centering on the creation of wine, but any visit to the abbey will reveal just how much of the entire building is devoted to the formation of this delicious mixture. The Bioparaphysics of the Healing Arts by Lady Lee. We have read The Carvia Chronicles by Morphin. Oh, Morphin, I don't remember who that is either. Is that the guy in... That might just be the apothecary in Britain? Here, finally, in one volume, are the details of the skills necessary for butchering. The work discusses several contemporary styles, including the author's own. Be warned, noble reader, that Morphin leads into graphic level of detail that would turn the stomach of all the toughest meat carvers. Right, Morphin is the butcher in Pause. A Guide to Child Care for the Rich and Famous by Lady M. With love for Samantha Meng Ling. Wonder if that's a real reference. Within is the extensive guide for nannies, describing contemporary techniques and the latest in troubleshooting with children of all ages. A special chapter details the art of diaper changing and adds a touch of humor by describing, for the more soldierly sorts who may be reading, the effects of hurling soiled diapers at one's enemies, which is of course something you can do in this game. It's a very powerful weapon. I think it causes any enemy to flee. The Book of Circles, translated from Gargish to Britannian by Gillian. All begins with the 3 principles: control, passion, and diligence. From control springs direction. From passion springs feeling. From diligence springs persistence. But these three virtues are no more important than the other five. Control combines with passion to give balance. Passion combines with diligence to yield achievement, and diligence joins with control to provide precision. The absence of control, passion, and diligence is chaos. Thus, absence of the principles points towards the seventh virtue, order. The three principles unify to form singularity. This is the eighth virtue, but it is also the first, because within singularity can be found the principles, and thus all the virtues. A circle has no end. It continues forever, with all parts equally important to the success of the whole. Our society is the same. It, too, continues forever, with all members and all virtues equally parts of the unified whole. Did that. Okay, last one on this table. Hither Comes the Rain by Perrin. Within the pages of this book are descriptions of the various effects of spring weather on plants and animals in Britannia, explaining that Britannia seems to see an increase in the amount of rainfall each year. Alright, let's finish off the tables, and then see where we're at. What Color is Thy Blade by Menyon. Oh, Menyon, and Menyon is a blacksmith somewhere. I forget where. The first step in effective sword forging is to fill a crucible with metal. Then, with the bellows, the fire should be made extremely hot. When the flame no longer continues to grow in its glow, set the crucible down on the fire to melt the metal. Afterwards, pour the molten metal into the blade mold and let it cool. Be warned, the crucible is at an extremely high temperature. Lift the cooled blade from the mold. Again, heat up the fire and set the blade within. Be careful not to let it lose its shape, though. Just set it in there long enough for the blade to become malleable. Excuse me. When it is ready, finish shaping it on the anvil with the hammer. When thou hast formed a blade of the desired shape, use the quenching barrel to cool the metal. It will harden quickly, so make sure the blade is as sharp as thou just want it to be. All that thou is left to do now is to put the pommel over the tongue. It takes some doing to make a fine, sturdy sword, but the finished weapon is well worth it. Hero Fertilizer. Fertilizer? No, it's Fertilizer, by Werdrun. A warrior's handbook depicting several esoteric fighting styles. Each step is accompanied by a short piece of fiction, permitting the reader better visualization of the detailed style. Encyclopedia Britannia, Volume 3, M to P. Here's another volume in a long series of books detailing every known geographical location and historical personage. This tome covers Konos, No, we've read this. Oh, maybe not, I don't know. This tome covers Konos, an historical tower in ancient Yew, through Pusmaran, the originator of the rarely used fourth-person point of view. Alright. Made a huge dent in the top floor of the Lyceum. We finished the books on the table here, and I think for time's sake we'll have to call it, and pick back up with the books on the shelves next time. See you then.